Yo, has this ever happened to you? Are you tired of your social media platform? Do you spend hours and hours on your artwork to make sure it's good enough for an audience that's used to watching content like this? And when you finally do finish that painting you've been spending countless hours on, taking the perfect photo of it, writing a heartfelt caption, and gathering the courage to finally show it to the world, only for it to get 3 likes? There's gotta be a better way. Oh, do you know of one? No, I thought you would.
Not really.
But that's your job. You put me in this weird, colorless world
It's okay.
where I keep failing.
Relax.
With the promise that you'd fix it all in the end.
No, calm down.
We signed a contract. That was the deal. Hi, I'm the narrator. Don't worry about her. She's fine. Originally, I thought about making this a how-to video, but seeing as how my follower count on Instagram is, well, that's embarrassing. And since I'm so much better at complaining, I figured I'd do a commentary video. Has anyone noticed how awesome the Instagram algorithm is lately? Well, I have, and I've compiled a list of grievances. Number 1, it's harder to build community for niche art. Since the algorithm favors and pushes popular or trending content, it's harder to get your content seen if it isn't more mainstream. For oil painters like me, it can be challenging to build a loyal following when the platform prioritizes broad appeal, making it difficult for niche artists to find and engage with their specific audiences. Niche communities already don't have a big enough following to push them past the threshold to compete with content directed at bigger audiences. Brony art started this way, and probably should have stayed this way. Number 2, focus on viral content. Instagram's algorithm heavily favors posts with viral potential. Oil painting usually isn't flashy or viral in nature, especially if it's more subtle, contemplative, or requires close observation. Artists whose work doesn't have immediate visual impact may struggle to get their posts seen. Number 3, preference for influencer type accounts, i.e., the algorithm prioritizes bigger accounts over smaller accounts in terms of followers. The algorithm tends to favor accounts with larger numbers of followers and higher engagement rates. For emerging or niche artists, it is difficult to compete against influencers or larger brands, even if their art is unique or high quality. This dynamic can make it harder for oil painters to break through. Unfortunately, Instagram is not a meritocracy. Yes, it's more likely that skilled artists are near the top, but there are some artists who are very, very skilled and they have smaller followings that aren't really congruent with their skill levels. And yes, I know art is subjective. And obviously there are people who have figured out how the ever-changing algorithm works and they are rewarded. But in order to do that, you basically have to have another job as a social media consultant. And number 4, favoritism for short, attention-grabbing content. The Instagram algorithm prioritizes short, easily digestible content like reels and stories, which tend to perform better than static images. For oil painters whose work involves fine detail that benefits from longer viewing, this emphasis on quick scrolling content can make it harder to showcase the depth of their work. Short, attention-grabbing content is prioritized, even something very far-fetched. Granted, this makes sense. If you make your video enticing at the beginning, it's gonna win out over one that doesn't do that. But I've noticed that oftentimes I'm just so burnt out by everything demanding my attention online, so much that none of it becomes interesting anymore, and oftentimes the only thing that gets pushed is rage bait. Number 5, sensationalized content is rewarded. You gotta thank Overlord Zuck for this one. It seems as if things that are controversial get more shares, more comments, more engagement. And yes, I know that's kind of the nature of art since the beginning of time. And it's not that much different from artists like Damien Hirst versus Renaissance painters with their fruit bowls. But it still rewards the people that try to trigger responses. And yes, I know that's a lot of what art is. to evoke emotion, and that's often what gets people to interact. Number 6, Reels are prioritized over static pictures. Aren't pictures like the bread and butter of Instagram? Sharing pictures with your friends? Or I guess sharing photos was the bread and butter of Instagram until they started copying everyone else. Now, I didn't really get into Instagram at the beginning because it was an app for cool people and I was never cool. But in the early days, Instagram was just a simple photo sharing app and you could scroll to the end of the feed and then you closed your phone and you went about your day. Now with infinite scroll, your attention has been held hostage and it shoves so much info your way, your brain just becomes desensitized. The only thing that really seems to grab your attention anymore is if something is way out of the norm. Number 7, the decline of hashtag effectiveness. Recent changes to Instagram's algorithm has made hashtags less effective. Hashtags used to be a way for non-followers to find your posts. This is problematic for artists who rely on hashtags like hashtag oil painting, hashtag art collector, to attract viewers who are specifically interested in fine art. Seriously, do these even work at all? And I thought that you used to be able to go into your Instagram insights and see who clicked on your posts via hashtags, but I don't see that anymore, unless I'm looking in the wrong place. And upon researching this video, I was scrolling through my Instagram and I noticed that hashtags might have some effectiveness still because the hashtags you follow can pop up in your feed. For instance, I follow the landscape painting hashtag, and I noticed that I got some suggestions of that in my feed. So yes, maybe a little bit of effectiveness still. Number 8, the algorithm penalizes infrequent posting. Oh boy, don't I know this one. Instagram rewards frequent posting, but oil painting is very time consuming. So artists may not have new work to share regularly to keep up with the algorithm's demands, leading to a potential drop in visibility when they post less frequently. And granted, I feel that once you passed a certain threshold, you can somewhat coast on posting. Obviously, I don't know what I'm talking about, so take that with a massive grain of salt. But lots of creators probably have entire social media teams dedicated to their online presence once they get big enough. And not to knock any of them, they've certainly earned it. But it just makes it all the more difficult for newer, smaller creators to get traction. And this frequent, constant need to post just seems to add to the sea of content where people are just slinging things at the algorithm, hoping something will stick. Well, that's it. I don't know how to end the video other than saying thank you for listening to me complain for 8 minutes. If you enjoyed this, please like this video and consider subscribing to my channel. Bye-bye. Scout, do you want to subscribe? Do you want to subscribe to Mommy's channel? Do you have to think about it first? It's okay. You don't gotta do it right now. You can do it tomorrow. You can do it when you wake up. You do it when you wake back up.